Success, my next guest once said, is like a treacherous lover. Well, she's known quite a lot of success. Her original ambitions were to be Prime Minister, brain surgeon and pilot, and she may well achieve them all. She's the first popular actress to have her own column in The Times, and she is Joanna Lumley. No introductions needed, of course, with you two.
No, in Call My Bluff. She's a yearly fixture.
We never meet, you know, before the show.
Is that a good idea?
Well, yes, it is, because I'm usually on Frank's team, and we have a terrifically exciting... I don't know whether people think that the game is arranged or not, but in actual fact, we have a terrific envelope session where all the things are allotted to us, and Arthur goes off into a sort of huddle with his team. And I usually go off with Frank and his team.
But Arthur doesn't win too often.
Steady on.
But taking part...
we feel we lose graciously.
Yes.
I'm not very good at it. The whole thing is a muddle to me.
It's a mystery, actually, isn't it?
A total mystery. And you see, Frank is much more... Frank's been doing it for 17 years. Here am I only in my 7th year.
Oh, Arthur,
So,
how awful, yes.
Yes, quite.
I'm told you do a marvellous imitation of Arthur's giggle.
No, I'm not going to do it.
You're
now.
not.
No, I don't. Arthur, he just appears and he starts going.
Yes, I know. I met Arthur in the corridor, and before he said hello, he was... It's very charming, thank you very much. But like Arthur, you've had more than one career, haven't you?
I started off as a model, yes.
Yes, an actress, and then a journalist with The Times as well. What about when you were a model? Go back to that. It was the look, wasn't it?
It was the 60s. It was the beginning of it all. I started modelling in 1964, and it was miniskirts, and in those days, I don't know whether the audience will remember, when we had chalk white faces and 3 or 4 layers of eyelashes, 2 or 3 on top and separate ones glued on underneath. And we were thin. We had to be so thin. I'm so jealous of the models nowadays who just have to look quite healthy, tennis-playing girls, your favourite girls, you know.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Whizzing them over the net to the strength of 5. But in
You
those
could
days, you had
hardly
to
be
look...
called lumpy now, dear.
No, but one had to be... one had to be quite emaciated, you know. The thickest part of your leg was the knee bone, you know. Very, very thin indeed.
Was that one of the great problems of,
Great struggle.
of permanently being glamorous?
Yes, trying to be thin, trying to not be spotty. Jolly difficult if you are. I was a bit spotty. I also had rotten fingernails, because, look, they're all right.
Oh, they're lovely.
But in those days, they were, I don't know, was breaking or I was biting them or something. So we glued on fingernails. We glued them on. And I used to glue them on the tube train going to work. That was OK. People watched with interest because it smelled like sort of petrol and you stuck them on. But coming back, you took them off.
Oh.
And the men would nearly be sick because it looked as though...
I'm really sick now, dear.
Yeah, it's impossible, Joanna, to believe that you're nearly 60 years old. Which is because... Of course, you're nowhere near that. That's why it's impossible to believe it. What kind of schoolgirl were you? Were you a prefect?
Yes, well, they created a form of prefect called sub-prefect, which was specially for my year. It had never happened before, because we were so bad that the nuns said, set a thief to catch a thief. And they thought the only way they'd stop us being quite so bad was to pin on sub-prefect badges. That didn't work at all. And then eventually, when one got to the 6th form, for want of anything better, they made me a prefect. But unfortunately, I had to take my badge away.
They stripped you of your decorations? Did you keep animals? I mean, pets, tiny things.
We weren't really allowed to, but again, my year, rather a bad year, we kept mice. And we bought mice. I had a brown one, a very pretty one. Usually mice are sort of black or, you know, piebald or even white. But mine was brown, and she was called Reepicheep after a C.S. Lewis book.
Reepicheep?
Reepicheep. And we kept them on our bodies in the daytime, in our blazer pockets. And at night time, they had to go somewhere. So we arranged where we kept our underclothes. Underclothes to one side, mice. And of course, you know what mice smell like. So we smelled like mice.
There's a Welsh word for that. It's achavi.
Achavi. That was us, Michael.
But school plays, of course, like Arthur, you were involved in the drama.
Yes, I always played men. I was very tall. Well, I'm 5'8", but that was taller than most people.
And
nice
you, of course, Arthur, you played girls.
I played girls. I was rather slim and slight. And I had a fairly high voice. And so I used to take off. Kate Hardcastle in She Stoops to Conquer. Lady Mary in The Admirable Crichton, still spoken of, I don't doubt. Now, might I ask a terrible question? Did you at your school have to report when you'd been to the lavatory? Because some schools, there was a terrible mistress with a ledger, and the girls' names, and Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and either a tick or woo,
No, we didn't
have you been? That awful phrase.
No, we didn't do that, Michael. Did you?
No, we didn't do that. I mean, we did it, but no one was interested. Now, your career, of course, is burgeoned, and you've done a lot of very different things, apart from being this journalist that I keep referring to in the posh papers. Now you're doing a very posh play in Dundee, or preparing to.
Yes, I'm doing Hedda Gabler. At least I'm not doing it. We're rehearsing it now. The Dundee Rep. Terrific.
Dream part for an actress.
Extraordinary.
You've seen it done before?
I saw Peggy Ashcroft do it about 20 years ago, I suppose, and before that I saw Flora Robson do it.
Well, you see, this is how I'm shrinking now. It is one of those parts that is
you'll be super.
Will I ask?
Yes, you'll be marvellous.
Now, like Twiggy, did you go from school to being a model?
Yes, I did a job in between. I worked in a shop which sold sort of very beautiful furniture and rather upmarket Swedish glass. I was only there for about 3 months. Then I came up and went to a modelling school. You had to go to modelling school, where you learnt how to get in and out of cars with your legs. It's just so nobody could see your knickers. And how to say thank you and wear blue eye makeup. It wasn't really a great help.
You were described as a house model. What is that?
A house
It's a sort of dog's body, or what?
Not quite.
No, not no. For a model.
I worked for the great designer, Jean Muir, and it was a wonderful founding, because she was meticulous. It meant that you had to stand and have the clothes made on you. And just when I thought they looked wonderful, she'd go, and scratch a whole sleeve off. And I thought it was just wonderful, but she'd tear it off, meticulous, get it back again. So you had to stand for that. Then you had to show the clothes when the buyers came in, people from America or from the grand shops. And then you had to sometimes get sandwiches for other people's lunch and run errands, deliver clothes. Once I remember having to work the switchboard when one of the girls was away on holiday. Awful. Switched people off. Rows of little switches. Lights, beep, yes, hello. One moment, I'll put you through. Click.
And then...
Well, it's hardly what you joined to do. You wrote about that in the Times,
Yes,
didn't you?
I did, yes.
Do mechanical things still present a problem?
Them. I can't do it. I have a video tape recorder, which every time, television recorder system syndrome, which every time I work it, I have to open the thing, it says, press programs. I can't do it. I can't
All
do
right,
it.
dear, we've got one. A total mystery.
Well, do you remember, for the army, you had to pass little aptitude tests, and I couldn't put a bicycle pump together. And that's bad, isn't it? So we're all lovable duffers, the three of us. It's good. Now, before you climbed into suspenders, and I'm talking to Joanna now, for the Avengers, what other appearances did you do before that?
Well, I was lucky enough once. You weren't. I wonder if you remember this, Arthur. You're quite a soap merchant, aren't you?
Oh, passionate.
Well, look, can you remember me in Coronation Street?
My dear, no.
I had
Where
a thrilling...
were you?
Well, it was a long time ago. I think it must have been about 12 years ago. I can't quite remember. But I played... Ken Barlow asked me to marry him.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. We went and looked at a house together.
What happened?
What a devil.
I turned him down.
Well, you must have. Deirdre would have been very cross.
Yes, it was frightful. I felt awful doing it. Can you imagine people saying, oh, she turned down that nice Ken Barlow? You could hear them whispering in the streets, and I couldn't think... it was written.
And since you did these ultra-glamorous parts, you get many real-life proposals, I suppose.
When I was doing it, when I was in the Avengers, I got quite a lot, yes. People, but in the most flamboyant way. They'd say, I farm sheep in Australia, will you marry me? It was not nothing too little, They'd offer me the world, actually, Arthur,
Very wide
I'm
appeal.
not at all surprised.
Oh, dear.
And your sophisticated image, of course, appeals to the advertising people. You do quite a lot of that. So you do.
Well, I only say because it's so odd. When you're in yourself, you don't think of yourself as sophisticated at all. But I imagine that the way you look, I always put it down to height. I think if you're tall, you look sophisticated.
Do you do voice-over?
Yes, I love it.
Isn't it lovely?
Yes. Do you?
Yes, I do. I did one for an air firm. I'll call them Quick Air. And I kept saying the thing, and they said, oh, that's just lovely, but do try and get a little more feeling into it. So I kept saying, so do travel by Quick Air. It makes sense.
But do they require you, Joanna, to do things that you really don't want to do and refuse to do?
Yes, sometimes they do. There's actually... Oh, I shouldn't say it. Oh, all right,
Say
I will.
it, go on.
There's an advertisement out, and I didn't like the punchline, and I'd been asked to sort of to do the sort of test reading for it. And we got to it, because you never see the script before you go along. They just hand you a piece of paper and you start recording straight away, don't you?
Oh, of course.
I mean, 5 minutes to read it and that's it.
Yeah.
And when we came, I said, "You're not really going to say this, are you?" And they said, "Well, we think it's amusing." And I said, "Oh, all right." And I did it. And I got back and I said, "I don't want my voice to be saying this." So I rang up and said, "Can you make it not me?" And they didn't. They did it with somebody else. But that's just a surprise. Now you can go home and listen to them and see which one I didn't want to say.
Well, there's an invitation for you.